Oh, we're live now.
Okay, so hello here from dark Zagreb. It's night here, but we are honored to greet you all in this great hangout with our presenter Abdallah from Romania. Abdallah is going to present us on a topic in neurosurgery here for Neurosurgical TV. So I would like to start with the panel. Please, Majed, can you say something about yourself? Hello, Majed.
Yeah, hey, I'm Majid, third year medical student at Carlo Davila University, General Medicine.
Nice to have you, Majid. Gaurav, hello. Gaurav, introduce yourself, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Gaurav Bhatta from Nepal. I'm studying third year MBBS in College of Medical Sciences. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. And we have Alex here. Hello, Alex.
Hello again. Sorry for the delay. Unexpected error.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Okay, so I'm Slaven Gojkovic. I'm a medical student starting my 4 years soon in Croatia, and I'm greeting you all in the name of Neurosurgical TV. So Abdallah, when you're ready, let's bring it on. Okay.
Should I mute my microphone? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Please mute. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can everybody hear me now? All right, great. So, okay, so I'm Abdallah Rida, a third year medical student. I finished my third year in the University of Medicine and Pharmacy Carol Davila in Bucharest, Romania. Today I'll be presenting you with a topic. Just wait a second, let me screen share. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see now?
Yes. Great presentation.
Okay, cool. All right, so the topic that we're going to talk about today is CRP value in post-neurosurgery. CRP stands for C-reactive protein. So the first thing that we need to know is what is a biomarker? Because basically in that sense, CRP is used as a biomarker. So what is a biomarker? A biomarker is a naturally occurring molecule, gene, or a characteristic by which a particular pathological or physiological process, disease, etc., can be identified. So that means that it's a thing that naturally occurs in the human body that we can use to identify something unusual or pathological or even physiological that happens inside the body. So it's not something artificial that we introduce in the body, but it's something that's already there. So examples for biomarkers is the C-reactive protein that we're going to talk about today. We also have cerebrospinal fluid markers like tissue necrosis factor alpha, interleukins. We have proteins, neutrophils, glucose, procalcitonin, lactate. Those CSF markers that we see here are also used in neurosurgical approaches and applications, but the topic of today is a C-reactive protein because the C-reactive protein, as we can see here, is a protein that's found in blood plasma. And this one is C-reactive protein is pretty common, and I think everybody here knows what it is and learned about it in physiology and physiopathology and everywhere. We can see here the structure of C-reactive protein is an annular, ring-shaped, pentametric, which means that it consists of 5 units. And it's called an acute phase marker because the levels of CRP rise in response to inflammation. CRP has a hepatic origin, and it increases following interleukin-6 secretion by macrophages and T cells in cases of inflammation. Now, what do CRP test results mean? How can we interpret the results of CRP in the blood plasma? So if we have a higher and increasing amount of CRP in the blood, that suggests or that shows us that there is an inflammation. But as we can see here, CRP is a general or a non-specific marker. So it will not identify its location or cause of the inflammation. In individuals suspected of having a serious bacterial infection, a high CRP can be confirmatory. In people with chronic inflammatory conditions, high levels of CRP suggest that suggest a flare-up, which means it's a sudden inflammation, or that the treatment of the chronic inflammatory condition that the patient is suffering from, that treatment is not effective. So because if the treatment is effective, it will decrease the inflammation, and accordingly the CRP levels will be decreased as well. If the CRP level is initially elevated and then it drops, it means that the inflammation or the infection is subsiding. This is what I just mentioned. So that the treatment is effective and that the patient is responding to it, and accordingly the CRP will decrease. So we use the CRP as a biomarker to monitor the status of the inflammation that the patient is suffering from. If the inflammation is there, CRP levels are high. If the inflammation starts to decrease, CRP levels will drop. Okay, now we have examples for using CRP. Here we have heart disease. As we can see, below 1 milligram per liter, we have low risk of heart disease. 1 to 3 milligrams per liter, we have an average risk. 3 milligrams per liter and above, we have a high risk, and it says here that 25% of Americans have fall into this category, so they have high CRP levels. And then we have the extreme 10 milligram per liter, and this number is considered abnormally high. So this is for CRP in levels in heart disease. If you look here, we can see that it's also used in kidney disease. So here we have CRP levels, milligrams per liter again, and relative risk of death because of this kidney disease. We have less than 3.3. The risk is 1. 3.3 to 7.4 is 1.6. 7.5 to 15.7 is around 3, and more than 15.7 milligrams per liter, we have a risk of 4.6. So accordingly, we can see that CRP is very useful in giving us statistics and information about the risk of a lot of diseases based on the fact that is very, very relative in cases of inflammation. So what it says here, CRP may be used to detect or monitor significant inflammation in an individual who is suspected to have an acute condition such as a serious bacterial infection like sepsis, a fungal infection, pelvic inflammatory disease, etc. CRP tests is useful in monitoring people with chronic inflammatory conditions to detect flare-ups or to determine that if the treatment is effective. For example, inflammatory bowel disease, some forms of arthritis, autoimmune disease such as lupus, vasculitis, etc. Now, what does this have to do with neurology or neurosurgery. The thing is, we said that CRP is found in the blood plasma, and we all know that the nervous system, the central nervous system, is pretty well covered up with the meninges. How relevant would it be to use CRP to detect neurological conditions as well? So that's the point. Would CRP be as efficient as it is in detecting neurological conditions as it is for the other conditions outside the nervous system? And here we have some research. So here we have a paper done in 2012 which tests the serum C-reactive protein levels in predicting neurological outcomes after aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage. And we can see here that 82 adult patients with aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage were diagnosed. The diagnosis of those patients was evaluated. CT scans were done, and the serum CRP measurements were obtained daily between admissions and the 10th day of the evaluation in the study. And the patients with the higher serum of CRP levels had a less favorable prognosis. And they concluded that increased serum CRP levels were strongly associated with worse clinical prognosis in this study. So this means that CRP levels were correlated with the neurological outcomes after aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage. And here we have another study that states that early recording of CRP may prove useful in detecting those good grade patients. Here we have a study also made on aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage, and here we have the numbers of here we have the percents of patients. So on the admission, 73% of patients were good grade, according to World Federation of Neurological Surgeons grades. That means here we have the grades. As we can see here, that World Federation of Neurological Surgeons grading is basically a grading for the motor deficits. So the motor function of the patient. 73% of the patients that were admitted were grade 1 and 2. This means that the motor deficit was absent. In other words, their motor function was good. But 84% of the patients had a Fisher grade of 3 or 4 on the CT scans. If we look at the Fisher grade here, 3 or 4 means that there is a localized clot or a thick layer of subarachnoid blood, or that the intracerebral or intraventricular blood with diffuse or no subarachnoid blood. So those are the worst cases throughout the grading system in the Fisher grade. So 84% of the patients were like that, while 73% had a good motor function. So that means that those two gradings were not correlated with each other. But when testing the CRP levels, it was found that early records of the C-reactive protein proved useful in detecting those good grade patients who are at greater risk of clinical deterioration. So people from that 73% who had subarachnoid hemorrhage, the CRP gave results that approved that. So even though they had a good motor function, they had a subarachnoid hemorrhage, and the CRP levels were high in those patients, even though their motor function was relatively good. So that means that the CRP in the patients who had a good motor function was high, and that indicated that they had a subarachnoid hemorrhage. The thing that was also approved by the Fisher grade. So from those results, we can conclude that the CRP can also be used in neurological conditions. Not just conditions outside the CNS, no, it can be used as well in neurological conditions. How about using C-reactive protein in post-neurosurgery? The thing is, after neurosurgery, there could be some complications. So how about using CRP in order to detect if there would be complications after the neurosurgery or not? Here we have a study in 2010 called Value of C-reactive protein after neurosurgery. In this study, we can see that the results say that there were 100 patients that were recruited in the study. 13 of those 100 developed post-operative infectious complications. Okay, all right. So the 100 patients went through neurosurgical procedures, and 13 people of those 100 developed post-operative infectious complications. In those patients, a secondary CRP level rose, and or it failed to decrease as expected in the other patients. So whether the secondary CRP levels increased or they stayed as they were, they didn't go down, as expected in the other patients. And we can see here it says that the sensitivity, specificity, negative and positive predictive values of 100%, 93.1%, 100%, and 68.4% respectively. So the sensitivity, specificity, negative and positive predictive values for the CRP were all significant in that case. And that means that CRP is a more reliable screening test for post-operative infectious complications in the practice of neurosurgery, other than ESR, for example, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, because in that study, those markers were tested as well, and CRP had better results than ESR. Even though ESR is a very good marker, it's also general if it's compared in infectious diseases or other cases outside the CNS. ESR is used very widely. But for example, in that case that we have here, CRP had better results in post-neurosurgery infectious complications. Another study we have here in 2015 with the title Chronological Changes of CRP Levels Following Uncomplicated Two-Stage Bilateral Deep Stimulation. So there is a risk of acute cerebral infections following deep brain stimulations. And in this study, there were 46 patients that were undergoing bilateral two-stage deep brain stimulation. And the study showed that the mean CRP levels at post-lead implantation day 2, so at day 2 of implementation, the CRP levels were further elevated at post internal pulse generation implantation day 2. All right, so in the second day of the procedure of the deep brain stimulation, due to the increase in the time of implanting the electrodes, the CRP levels went high as well. As it says here in the conclusion, the duration of post-lid implantation period influenced the magnitude of CRP elevation at post-IPG insertion day 2. IPG stands for internal pulse generator for the deep brain stimulation. So that means that even the CRP can be used to detect the sensitivity of the neurosurgical procedures that we're doing. You don't just use it for post-infections, but you can use it to monitor the status of the patient himself throughout the neurosurgical procedures, such as deep brain stimulation. You can use it to say that, okay, this is that the period for inserting the electrodes is pretty long, that you should decrease that period because increasing it apparently causes an inflammatory reaction. And this is all is deduced due to the levels of the C-reactive protein. Here we have another study called excessively elevated CRP after surgery for temporal lobe epilepsy. So 87 patients were followed. They underwent surgery between July 2003 and November 2011. And here we can see that CRP levels were measured in 59 patients of the epilepsy surgery group and in a control group of 44 consecutive patients with supratentorial tumors, so glioblastomas and meningiomas. And here we can see that the post-operative C-reactive protein values were significantly higher in the epilepsy group compared to the control group. So that means that CRP levels were excessively elevated in the patients, in the absence of clinical infection, and significantly higher compared to resections of supratentorial lesions. So again, C-reactive protein levels were elevated in the patients, and they were higher compared to resections of supratentorial regions. So again, they correspond to inflammatory reactions in the neurosurgical procedure. The last study that we have regarding this topic is called a comparison of post-operative values of CRP in minimally invasive and open lumbar spinal fusion surgery. So this one is a neurosurgery on the spine, the lumbar spine, to be more specific. And we can see that the post-operative CRP was significantly lower in the so there were 35 single-level minimally invasive procedures, and in those procedures the CRP was significantly lower if compared to another 11 single-level open procedures. So in the minimally invasive surgeries, CRP levels were low. In the open procedures, CRP levels were high. So that tells us something. It tells us that the minimally invasive procedures are safer. They do not allow the risk for infections, for inflammatory reactions in the patient, especially in the spine, and so on and so forth. So once again, the CRP here correlates with the inflammatory status of the patient, and it's used in a very systematic way in order to study the safety of neurosurgical procedures. Here in this study, confirming the fact that minimally invasive procedures are safer regarding the fact that they do not induce inflammations and so on. So the conclusion is that CRP is a valuable marker in post-neurosurgery because the levels of CRP, they do correlate with the inflammatory reactions, with the infectious complications in neurosurgery, the safety of the neurosurgery, all of that. The CRP actually correlates with all of that. So as a general acute marker of inflammation, it correlates with complications in different neurosurgical procedures, and it changes according to the level of invasiveness of the neurosurgery as well. Um, and that's it. I thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you, Abdallah, for your great presentation. A very innovative approach we haven't seen yet on Neurosurgical TV, but I believe a great addition to the presentation we have done yet. So,
I'm gonna get off the screen now.
yes, please get off the screen share.
Okay.
I would like to introduce a new panel member which came in the moment. This is our great member, Miss Francesca Oclea. So, Francesca, can you please introduce yourself and tell us something about yourself?
Hello, thank you, Slaven, for the introduction. My name is Francesca Ochia. I'm now fifth-year medical student from Bucharest, Romania, and the future president of our Dandy Club here. We have Walter Dandy Club for medical students. I think you have met Tabita already.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to be so late. It was
No
a
worries.
good presentation, Abdallah. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I would like to open this discussion after Abdallah's great presentation. So please, I would like to let the panel members first to comment. CRP is really a theme in neurosurgery, one very important factor. So if you have any comments, questions, or you can just discuss whatever you want after the presentation, please.
Can I please comment on Abdallah's presentation?
Of course, yes.
Hello, Abdallah,
Alex.
again.
Hello.
So basically, your presentation was flawless. Just one commentary raised by my rheumatology, course this year. I'm a fifth year. I just finished fifth year, and they told us in rheumatology that so aside from the neurosurgical use in lupus, you mentioned lupus as an autoimmune disease. In lupus, basically, if I remember correctly, CRP is not of value. So it's not used so frequently. I don't know why, but it's not so useful in lupus in particular. That's all I wanted to say. I don't know why, but it's not measured or it's not taken into account in lupus for some reason.
Maybe there are other markers which are more.
Yeah, sure. There's a whole panel of antibodies in lupus. It's a total destruction of the body in lupus, basically. But yeah.
This is a great remark, Alex, because it is really an important disease of today and very complex etiology, which is also interested in many ways. So lupus is really one of the diseases that require attention. I agree on this. But also, does anyone else have some comments? How did you like the new approach Abdallah showed? We could see him while presenting. This was not a feature yet on Neurosurgical TV presentations, so I liked it very much.
He made a strong point of view. He had a strong point of view.
Yes, it was great. It was great.
Very well argumented.
Yes.
I worked my way out of it. You know what I did? I just opened a cam software, and because I'm screen sharing, so it's just there, and it's on. So.
Nice. It was a quite simple idea, but it looked great. I mean, the position of your, where you put the cam and everything with the screen, very nice. So Dr. Bennett already commented that this will be a great add-on to our future hangouts. Yeah. I see you're smiling, Francesca. Do you have any thoughts on the presentation so far?
Yes, I'm really proud of my colleagues. That's why I'm smiling.
Amazing.
I have a question. Daily we have to deal with rather complex patients, and CRP is not such a specific value. Are you sure it can be used? Because you showed us that it's raised in several conditions, but all of this can be encountered in one patient.
Okay, so I've found something. It was in 2011. It was a review with the same thing that you were talking about. Is using CRP overrated, or is it because it's non-specific? The thing is, it could be used in cases like in 2 or 3 days post-operative. In that case, the results would be more relevant. But right after like right after the neurosurgery, yeah, it's pretty unspecific. It does rise in a lot of cases, but it's very non-specific. But if it rises 2 or 3 days post-operative, in that case, it's the specificity starts to narrow down.
Yeah.
And Abdallah, you also already did presentations before Neurosurgical TV, if I'm correct.
No, it's the first time. I've been here, but it's the first time that I
Yes,
do it.
I mean, but you were using you were doing some videos by yourself, if I'm correct.
Yes, yeah, I do
Yes.
have a channel on YouTube. It's called EDU for free. Well, I
Yes.
started it when I was in high school. I was doing like high school videos on biology, chemistry, physics, and stuff like that. And then when I got in medical school, I'm also doing medical school tutorials as well. And basically all the workshops, the conferences that I've been to are logged there, so you can check it out. I can write the link on the chat box if you want.
Yes, the chat box is not visible to our viewers, but we will
Yeah.
make it
Okay. So I
available
will. Okay.
under the link. You can probably say the link
It's
out loud.
It's youtube.com/edu for free, number 4. Or you can
Okay.
just write my name and it will pop up some.
Okay, yes, we will put it under the complete video version of the video when it is edited.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yes, you guys are really cordially invited to do your presentations, the same as Abdallah did on this great platform, which was started by Dr. Bennett and which really gathers giant neurosurgical names around the world. And we are really honored to have you here on this platform as members of our panel and really my dear colleagues as well, because I'm really happy to see you all in this way. Although we spent relatively little time together, but today it is very relative. So if there are no further remarks, we can maybe call this the day and see you again next some other time if you agree.
Yeah.
Any comments? Okay, so thank you very much, Abdallah. Thank you to all panel members and. Okay, guys.
See you next week.
Yes, Alex, please.
Just wanted to say goodbye and see you next week. That was
Okay.
he made a strong point. So